So for those watching this video and this stream has already ended, today's video, or the next couple of videos, which will be in a playlist on the PanPastel website, is about doing this rose in detail using pan pastels and colored pencils. So what will happen is at the end of this stream, I will be creating a couple of other tutorial videos. So it will be a couple of videos that will make up one long tutorial, because it's going to all be in real time, and then that playlist will be placed on the PanPastel YouTube channel or their website, and then you guys will have all the details, all the details there on how to complete this rose. And I think it just makes it easier if I just do it in real time, because it's easy to just take a video and fast forward and skip ahead to what you want to be, where you want to be. But it's not that easy if you have a video that's time-lapse so quickly that you can't slow it down. So I think the real-time video clips are just better, and it's easier for me as well because I don't have to edit them afterwards. So what you see is what you get, and you get to follow along with me if you want to. So this photograph, so this reference that we're using here, is a photo taken by a friend of mine. His name's Craig Zilko, and he takes amazing photos. And he's given us permission to use this rose, but please credit him when you do use his reference, so that people know who the photographer of the original photo was. But you can go ahead and you can use this image if you want. So the details are in the description if you want to download the reference, and if you want to check out his website, or if you want to get in touch with him, see if he's got anything else available for you. But that is the whole deal with this rose. And I love this rose so much in its essence as it is that I didn't want to change anything up. So the whole point of this is just to show you guys how you can create a nice realistic rose using pan pastels. I don't intend on selling my piece or anything afterwards. It's just a tutorial video. Okay, so I think a lot of you guys are on board already with the whole process. So I think we're just going to jump in. So what's going to happen is I'm going to demonstrate as much as I can in an hour and a half on this rose. Now generally when you started drawing, you want to start with the background first, but in this case I'm not going to. I'm going to sketch out the rose real quick, and then I'm going to try and do 1 or 2 or 3 petals in detail from start to finish, so you can see the whole process of developing a petal from start to finish in this video. And then when I do the other unlisted videos, I will be able to start where you're supposed to start in the background, and then move on to finish the rose. Alright, hopefully that sounds nice and good. And the tools that I'm using, so I made a custom palette for this rose of 20 pan pastels. So that's the pastels over here, and I will list the colors as I go through it. Unfortunately, the colors won't be listed on the screen, but hopefully I speak clear enough for you guys to understand which color I'm talking about. But I will have once the whole thing's finished, I will have this entire list of colors available for you guys anyway, so that you know what these colors are. So this is my pan pastel set, and the giveaway one is the same. So we're going to be doing 2 main pan pastel giveaways, and the first one is the same set. So the same color palette with 20 colors, and you also get these as well. So you get some of the applicator sponges that we're using. So that's by Sofft tools, and this stuff's amazing. So I'll show you how we use all of it. You use the bigger sponges for mixing colors, or I do anyway. So that's sort of the process that we're going to be taking today. But this is going to be the first giveaway. So you're going to get all 20 of these colors. You'll get this tray, and you'll get all of these. And then the second giveaway, Bernie's so amazing. I'm very, very happy that she did this. But the second giveaway is going to be more pan pastels. So it's going to be a set of 10. And that's these colors over here. And they also have little storage containers in them. And then this little tray of 10 as well. So you can put your pan pastels in there. And then you will also get some, the Sofft, the Sofft tools in here, you'll get along with it as well. So that's the second giveaway. And then the other 4 giveaways are just a couple of smaller giveaways that we'll be doing as well, just so that we have more things to give away. It's always fun. Alrighty, so let me just put that in a safe space. So I was extremely lucky. Bernie sent me a full set of PanPastels so that I don't have to use the ones that I give away to you guys. So they stay brand new and they stay perfect, so I can just continue on using the existing PanPastels that I have. So I'm very grateful to you for doing that for me, Bernie, and I appreciate that so much. Or I need to thank PanPastels, sorry. Alrighty, so I am just going to jump in. My lovely moderator Maureen is going to keep track of all the entries and give you guys a number. So you'll notice that you'll see a number and a name quite often pop up on the screen, and that's Maureen just telling you what your number is for your entry number or numbers. So you guys can enter as much as 5 times, but please don't enter more than 5 times. And then yeah, so you assign that number, and that number is going to be relevant when we do the giveaways. What else? Oh, and questions. So if you guys have questions for me, please can you put them in capital letters so that I can see them clearly. So what I'll do is I'll try and stop every 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll look up and see if you guys have any questions. And if we can keep the questions relevant to today's video, that'd be really, that'd be really great. So if you have any questions about PanPastels, or if you have any questions about the rose or whatever, as long as it's relevant to today's video, then ask ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to skip your question. Okay. So, right, I think that's all been said, so we should be able to get started. Thanks so much, guys. Far abs. Okay, cool. So this is the reference picture, and I'm going to zoom in for you guys. And PanPastels is here. Thank you. It's so nice to have you guys on here. I guess I'm sure it's okay if you have any questions for the creators of PanPastels themselves, because they are on the chat. So feel free to ask away. Okie dokie. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pencil. Let's just I'll take a dark one so that it's easy for you guys to see. So I'm going to use the Madder number 142 and it's a Faber-Castell Polychromos pencil. And I just want to sketch out my rose. So usually when I do an outline like this, you'll probably find I'm going to get pretty quiet because I get so focused on it that I can't speak and draw an outline at the same time. Oh, and the paper that I'm using is the Uart 400 sanded paper. So the sanded paper is amazing with PanPastels because it just grips on there and the pigment stays on really, really strong. So the key is for me to remember which petal I'm on as I do this. Now with the rose, that's what's so nice about drawing flowers, is that you do not have to get every detail right, because no one's going to be able to tell if a petal isn't quite shaped correctly or anything like that. It's not as scary as drawing a portrait or an animal, because with them you sort of want to get the accuracy a bit better, so you can't afford to be as I don't know, as sketchy as you want with your outline. You take a lot more time to do that outline because you want to get that accuracy a bit better, you know. Awesome! PanPastel is happy to answer your questions if you guys have any. They're so great. So that should actually be more like that. And then that one. Oh, and I forgot to mention, just any of you guys that are new to this, you haven't been to one of these streams before, the whole point of the super chat is so that you guys can help me with postage and packaging. That's all. So don't feel like you need to use a massive amount to enter. Just $1 is fine. And with so many of you guys that enter, it really helps me out in posting this stuff to you, because most of the time it's those of you guys in the US that win this, and I'm in Australia. So international postage is quite a bit of money. So this just helps me out a lot. So that's the main point of the super chat, just if anybody's curious. The best part is if you do a really rough outline like this, and it's not exactly positioned 100% or anything, it's nice because then if you look at everybody's roses, if they're going to try this, they're all going to look very different. And it's a key thing to see differences in that from artist to artist, because they literally putting themselves in the artwork. So sometimes it's good to just do an outline and not worry so much about the details. Although I'll admit that is hard for me, because I am one of those artists that aim for realism, so I try and get as accurate as I can. But sometimes it's just good to make it look not perfect. I'm starting to feel like that lately. I don't want to aim for perfection anymore. Okay. Beautiful, that'll do for now. That's like that. Alright. There we go. So now that looks like totally 2D. So we want to get this to look more three-dimensional. So the next part is, and this is what I always start off with. So, well, the starting point in something like this is the background. So if you want to do a background like this, then it's better to do the background first, because if you sort of go over the petals a little, it's fine. Because when you start doing the details of the petals over the background, it's fine because it pushes the background to the back. But trying to work around the petals of the rose, so putting your background in afterwards, is going to be a lot harder. But like I said, just for the sake of this video being the first video we want to get a couple of petals in just to get them to look as real as we can, and just so that we can get some part of this video done from start to finish, if that makes sense. Okay, let me have some juice and we'll get started. I'll check for any questions real quick. Hey Esme says, I like your top, it matches today's theme. Yep, I did think about it consciously this morning. Carice is asking, is the portrait PanPastel tutorial up yet? No, it's not up yet, but it will be up soon. And also the same thing with the portrait. I was initially going to do one long video with the voiceover, but I'm not getting the time to edit that, so I'm just going to give you guys a playlist of real-time videos. So I think it's like a total of 9 hours, broken up into 4 parts, and you guys can just yeah, watch it like that once PanPastel can get it uploaded, because uploading them can take a while, especially if they're such long videos. Carice is asking, am I going to use any fixative? Yes, and I'll show you guys that process when we get there. Radio, so I'm going to pick a petal. I think I'm going to pick this one here. And I'm going to do this one in detail first. So let's do this one. I don't want to do any of the outer petals, I don't think, yet, until my background's in. So we'll do this one. Let me see if I can make this a bit brighter for you guys, because that looks very dark, doesn't it? Better. Okay, that's a bit better. Let's see how we go. Esme, thank you. Camera check. Rightio, let's start. So the Sofft applicator tools that I have are these ones. So you get 4 different ones. You get a triangular one, a square one, a round one, and an oval one. And I like using this one just to get into smaller areas. So let's just jump into that. Let's do the center. And I think I'm going to start off with the Permanent Red Shade 340.3. And I'm going to use the triangular one. And we'll start adding in those. Ooh, so I have a putty eraser here somewhere. Where did I put it? I had one somewhere. So when you want to like bring out, if you place down PanPastel on a certain area and you want to take it off, a putty eraser works great. Well, I don't know where I put mine. Yeah, the Uart 400 paper only comes in this color. I haven't seen any in another color. Okay, and then what I want to do, just so that I don't lose my edges, I'm going to use the Red Iron Oxide Extra Dark. So let's just put that there. So I'm paying attention to my reference. If you guys are going to be doing this, then you want to have your reference right by you. And then you'll know why I'm doing certain things in a certain way. So just to keep those shadows there, so my petals don't sort of merge into each other. I think I'll keep doing that here. And all the water droplets, I'm not even going to think about them. I'm just going to look straight past them until like way at the end. So the water droplets I'll do with pencil once I've finished the petals of the rose completely. If you hear that tippy tap noise, it's just my dogs. Okay, and then we'll keep using some of the Permanent Red shade. You know what would be really great, although I should probably just make them myself, is like on the side of these, if you could have like the name of the color. So that when you have it like that, you don't have to tip it over all the time. But that's only useful for those that want to do tutorials. Because those just using PanPastels will probably just use them. You wouldn't be so fussed or particular about the color per se, I guess. So, make some little labels for the sides of them. Okay, that's that one. So, and you'll notice I'm not too shy about dipping my Sofft applicator sponge into another color. But if you want to keep the sponge clean, all you have to do is take a paper towel like this, and you can just wipe it off. And then you can dip it into the next color. But if you are merging colors together, then you don't have to be too particular about that. We got the art gear guide on here as well. Far out, we got some epic people on here. So, I wonder if the art gear guide, because have you done any reviews on the on PanPastel? So if you guys want to check out reviews for pencils mainly, but a lot of art supplies, then check out the Art Gear Guide, because he has a very, very thorough, in-depth reviews on art supplies. And he goes through all the technical things about them as well, light fastness, durability, all that sort of stuff. He works it out for you guys. So very much worth seeing his channel. And he publishes his review. He gets his reviews published in the Color Pencil magazine every month as well, which is insane. But it sounds like Harry from the Art Gear Guide has. Have you got a review on the Uart paper? You just know a lot about them. So worth checking it out. That's great. I'm so glad this stuff's in the chat, because as far as I know now, YouTube keeps the chat on the video so you guys can see. So that's great. If I miss something now, I might be able to see it later. So I'm still just doing the shadows with the Red Iron Oxide Extra Dark. The darker values, I mean, not shadow. Just makes it a lot easier to see where the petal ends. So these first layers are just the establishing layers, I guess you can say. The ones that help you just see where things start and how they move. Okay, I probably shouldn't go too much further because we don't want to work on the edge petals. Yay, PanPastel! That's insane, thank you! Oh yes, and Art Gear Guide is holding a live Q&A on the 3rd of April. I saw that. Hopefully I can be there for that. I'd love to see. With Sally from Color Pencil magazine moderating. Insane! How cool is that? Oh, cool. PanPastel, you won't be disappointed. Harry from Art Gear Guide does amazing reviews, so that's so nice. I love it when people connect like this. Technology nowadays is great because it just makes communication so easy, and it's just nice. It makes it easier to just connect with people. Because not everybody can travel and physically see other places and people, so it's pretty great. Which, think about this, I don't know, 15 years ago, it's like not something that we would easily be able to do. See, I want to do the whole rose because I'm up to that point, but I'm not gonna. I'll just do the edges here. Okay, cool. Now we can continue to add some of these reds. So this is the Permanent Red shade. Art Gear Guide is having loads of problems with lag on the video when testing YouTube live streams. Any tips? That is normal. So right now, let me just see where we're at. So I'd say that YouTube is probably about a minute behind in real time. So I don't watch the YouTube screen. I don't watch from the YouTube live screen. I watch from my OBS live to see what everyone else is seeing. Because on YouTube there will always be a lag time. So try and ignore that factor. They will always be about a minute. Sometimes it will go as much as a minute and a half behind. Behind real time, if that makes sense. Yeah, OBS. So in front of me I've got my OBS screen so I can see, because it's through OBS that the stream is going to YouTube. So I just keep an eye on my OBS screen to see what you guys are seeing. And then I have YouTube here so I can keep an eye on the chat. But I can see that it's a fair bit behind what real time. Fair bit behind real time. So OBS is Open Broadcasting Software or System. Please remember, if you have any questions, to put them in capital letters. It just makes it easier for me to see. But I've got Claudia's asking, does the Uart paper damage the sponges much? It does wear on the sponges a bit, so you would have to replace them once they're really worn. So yes, it is slowly starting to wear that out a little. I don't know if I'd be able to show you that. It's starting to wear out a little, but I mean, I did the big portrait piece that I did, I only used about 2 of these on each for that entire thing. So, and you can swap them over. But you do, if you're gonna buy these little palette knives, you want to buy extra sponges because you are gonna go through them. You want to make sure you have extras on hand. But it doesn't go through them to such an extent that you're going to use a whole pile of them in one drawing. Yeah, totally. So Wicked says PanPastel seems particularly great for flowers and other nature things, right? Soft gradients and blur effects. Exactly. And I love using PanPastels if I'm doing portraits because I just get the smoothest skin tones with the portraits, where it's just it's super smooth. It's amazing, this stuff. And it's also great for blur effects. So if you're doing a background that's really blurry, that you don't want details and you don't want those pencil strokes to come through at all, then PanPastels is great, because then you literally just apply the blurry effect. So I'm not fussed about details or anything with this first layer. I just want to establish some values. And because it's the first layer, the pigment's not going to be as strong. You're still going to see some of the paper sort of come through. So you want to seal it with the fixative, and then you want to apply the next layer, and the next layer will be more pigmented. And the more you continue to layer like that, so you do a layer, you seal it with a fixative, you do a layer, you seal it with a fixative, the pigment's just going to get brighter and brighter with every layer. I only just noticed this. The time on this is so wrong. So it is 10:37. It's probably slow. Let's see how we go. Okay. And this petal here. So I'm going to try and see how much of the inner petals we can get done today. So we have another hour to go. Kathy is saying, I know we are not up to the pencils yet, but why do you choose colored pencils rather than pastel pencils for the details? That's a good question. I just love colored pencils. That's my main answer, I guess, because mainly my main subject matter with what I teach is with oil and wax-based pencils. So I have very little experience with pastel pencils. So I guess it's just because I haven't worked with them much that I'm not using them. But you still get just as great an effect with colored pencils, especially on the sanded paper, because the sanded paper almost gives your colored pencils the effect of pastel pencils. You'll know what I mean if you actually apply a colored pencil to the sanded paper. It feels like pastel pencils. So I guess it's just because I mainly work with colored pencils, that is probably the reason that I'm not using pastel pencils. Plus, I hate sharpening pastel pencils. I'm not the kind that has the patience to sit here and manually sharpen a pastel pencil. And I'm sure I think there are sharpeners out there for the pastel pencils, but I'm quite happy to just stick to the colored pencils. So it's really up to you. So this is where I encourage, if you have a difference of opinion and stuff, that's good, because every artist finds the things that they like. You try things and you will gradually, from different artists, look at different artists. I love watching Lisa from Lacry Fine Art, Jason Morgan, wildlife artists. Those artists are really, really good. Unmask Art, he's really good. So I like getting in touch with them and also watching them and seeing all the different things that different artists do, because everybody finds their own thing that they like. So it's always good to check out a couple of other artists as well. Speaking of Lisa and I are going to do a hangout video where the two of us are going to just draw something together and talk about it. So I think we said the 14th of April we're going to do that. So you guys can come hang out with us and ask us questions. And that'll be a good time to ask us questions, and then we can also see where our differences lie. Our different opinions in using the same materials and things like that. Also, my inexperience with some of the materials, because I'm not an experienced painter at all. I cannot paint. I haven't tried painting. Or not really, I haven't. I've tried it, but I haven't really tried it properly. So at least I can give you guys advice on that as well as pencils, because she's got a lot of experience in both. So hangouts like that I think are very useful, because you get two perspectives on things, and then you can also make up your own mind about certain things. Cool, so those are the petals that I'm going to be working on. Now these tiny little ones in here, I think I'm going to strictly do with my colored pencils, so that I can get those really particular details in there. Those really fine details. I might actually do that now. So I'll use the Pale Geranium Lake number 121. And just define some of these. A nice dark color. What's this? Use some of the dark indigo number 157. I quite often reach for this color instead of black, but I do also like to use black. Okay, all the like squishy details on the top here can be quite confusing, so I just want to make sure I get those little dividing sort of values in there, the dark shadows between the tiny petals. And that should do for now. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to seal that in. So I'm just going to close my tray. And the fixative that I like using is the Micador Workable Matte Fixative. And so this one says clear permanent protection for pastel, charcoal, chalk, and pencil work. And all you do is you shake it a little. Make sure that you blow all the excess little bits off because you don't want to seal them in. That's it. You spray it with a layer. You'll find that the PanPastel, the brightness of it sort of fades a little bit when you spray with a fixative. But it doesn't matter. As you keep continuing with your layers, it will still continue to build up that bright pigmented colors. So just give that a few seconds to dry. Let me see if you guys have any other questions. Yeah, so the last piece that I did, so it was a portrait piece, and it was really, really big. It only took me 9 hours. It was A1. It was A1. It was really big, and it only took me 9 hours to do that whole thing. Whereas, to give you a bit of perspective, some of you may have seen the small, like postcard size drawing I did for Colored Pencil magazine. It was the January challenge, the one with the sunset, the silhouette. I think Sunset Silhouette it was called. That one took me 9 hours to do in colored pencils, which was insane. And then to that, and it was only that big. And then with PanPastels, I did a massive portrait, A1 portrait, same amount of time, and it looked insane. It's just crazy. So if you are an impatient person or you want to get results really fast, then PanPastel's a way to go. Make it really big, because the bigger you work with PanPastels, the easier it is to work with PanPastels. But you can still get coverage, wide coverage, really, really quickly. So PanPastels definitely saves you a crap load of time. You can just, yeah, you can cover large areas really quick. Whereas if you had to compare that to with pencils, the coverage of large areas would take a lot longer, especially depending on the paper that you use. Yes, Harry, so with the live streaming, so I use a capture card. So with your MacBook Pro, you probably want to use a Blackmagic mini recorder. It's gonna make the world of difference. Sorry, I didn't even think of that. And that takes off all the extra work that your Mac has to do. That card does for it, so you don't have to overwork your little Mac, and it will work perfectly fine if you have that capture card. So something to think about. Esme's asking, how does the texture of the Uart compare to the Pastel Matte? I've only used Pastel Matte. Yeah, the texture's fairly close, I'd say. I'd say it would grip just as good. So, Pastel Matte paper, so for this, I think Pastel Matte paper would be fine. The Fisher 400 paper would be fine if anyone can get your hands on that. It's crazy how quickly that paper sells out. The Uart 400 paper, and the Canson Meton's Text and Touch papers. They're also really good. No, I haven't tried the Art Spectrum Color Fix paper. No. Okay, cool. So let's carry on. So that was our first layer. Now we're just gonna do some more. Do some more layers. And then we'll get in there with our pencils. Okay. I want to brighten this rose up a lot. So I'm going to use the Permanent Red over there. Oh, look how bright that is. So when you start adding those second layers, it picks it up. So this won't move around anymore, the bottom layer, because we've sealed it with a fixative. So if you're happy with a layer and you don't want it to change, seal it with a fixative before you carry on. And what's also really great about pan pastels is that you can put light colors over your dark colors, which is really great. So if I feel like I need to highlight this petal more, I can easily do that. I can just apply a lighter color over the top. Christine's asking, hey Sheldene, do you prefer Uart Pastel Matte or Meton's Text paper? Out of those three, I'd probably say the Uart for pan pastels. All three are fine, but I've seemed to be picking the Uart paper over the other ones, and I have all of them. Okay, how are we going on time? Good, good. So we've got about 35 more minutes to go. So we're doing really good. I think we'll get 1 or 2 decent petals done. So, in talking about, if you are a complete beginner and you want to try out these PanPastel tutorials that I'll be doing every month, with the first one that I put up, the portrait one, I'd say that's a little bit more advanced. So maybe not attempt that one as on your first go. But this one, definitely, if you are a complete beginner, then go ahead and do a rose, because you'll be blown away by what you can do. For someone who hasn't had much experience with it at all. So this one I would encourage anyone starting out with PanPastels to do this. But also have a sanded paper, please, because doing this on like watercolor paper, it's not as easy. So you want to have a sanded surface because it grips that pigment, and it grips the PanPastel, whereas the watercolor paper doesn't grip it as much, so it moves around a lot more. So just something to think about. Look how amazing that red is. That just went like, hello. Multitasking. Okay. Beautiful. Now, let's use some of the Payne's Grey Extra Dark. And we're gonna start working on those darker areas. Now, there's no particular rule on which one of these to use. Use whatever you want. Sort of, there's no... So maybe I'll use the flat edge one now. So this square one. And that will help me with the edges of petals like that. So the more you play with them, the more you'll get a feel of which ones you want to jump to. So see, I'm sort of moving that value out a bit more because it's darker. Look at that smooth gradient. It looks so good. Okay, you guys are asking why I use fixative. Okay, a couple of questions on fixative. When putting light over dark, do you have to use fixative? Yes, I'll show you an example. So I am going to take some of the Permanent Red Tint, this pinkish looking one. So let's say I want to highlight this. Now I haven't sealed this petal with fixative yet. So this is what happens. You can still highlight it if you want a subtle highlight, then you don't want to seal it with fixative, because you want that highlight to sort of blend into that red. Do you see that? So it's blending in nice and smooth. But let's say you wanted this color, this exact color. You didn't want it to blend it in, you want it to be this highlighted. That means you have to seal this in with fixative first, so that none of that moves around anymore. And then when you do that, you can apply this color and it will be that color. It won't be mixing in with these colors because you've sealed it in with the fixative. So you can do it both ways. If you want a very strong highlight and you want it to be this light, you want to seal this with a fixative first. But if you don't, you want that to gradually blend into the colors, then you don't have to seal it first. So hopefully that clarifies that question. Yeah, so Esme agrees. She tried using fixative for isolating her PanPastel layers, and it makes it much easier to work with, especially if you're doing 5 or more layers. Exactly right. Luella's asking, can she do the rose for our April student challenge? Yes, you can, because I've actually done this rose before for Valentine's Day a couple of 2 years ago, I think. We did the collab with Lisa and a few other artists using the same rose. So yes, you can. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with the Payne's Grey. So that little highlight was just to answer that question about the fixative and the highlighting, or putting lighter colors over the top. This needs to be higher actually. You can use the corner if you want to get really particular. Okay, I skipped one here. Oh, now I see what I've done. Okay, so this really goes a bit more like that. Not like that. Now I want to extend this part a little bit higher because I made it lower than what I actually wanted. So I'm just going to use my permanent red again and just go higher. So this is so good if you want to correct something because you can just go over it. You can keep modifying this entire rose as many times as you want. A lot of room for correction. Now I just want to take some of those edges of those dark areas and sort of push them up a bit more. See how that creates more depth? So pull it up. Or down, depending on which way the darkest shadow is. Can you see how there's just those layers, and we haven't even, this is only our second layer, and look at that, it's really strong. See if I can make. There we go. There, now you can see. That's much better. Sorry guys. Sometimes you just have to play with the settings. Cool. Okay, now I really like that just as it is, so I want to seal that in. So I'm going to use the... Actually no, before, I'm not going to seal it in yet. I'm going to do these sort of highlights. Oh gosh, I got to check the donations. Thanks, Maureen. 2 from Wicked. And 1 entry for Kathy Gore, please. Thanks, guys. Kathy Gore. I'll definitely have to check those because the notifications seem to come up quite late. Okay, so using the... When I took this out of the palette, I stuck my whole nail in there and took a chunk out. Where's my brush? So usually you want to take a brush and wipe that off. Okay, so using the Permanent Red Tint over here. So checking for areas that have highlights. And sort of, if you have excess on your sponge, just wipe it off on a paper towel. And now we want to blend it into the rest of that petal. Yes, pastel sticks to this paper really well. So any standard surface paper, Fisher 400 paper, Canson Metons Text or Touch paper, Uart 400 paper, pastel matte paper, anything that's sanded, any pastel will stick to it very nicely. I wouldn't really recommend like watercolor paper. You can use it, but you're going to apply a lot of layers of fixative before that pigment comes out really strong, because on watercolor paper it moves around a lot more than what it does on sanded paper. Look at that dimension that's forming. Oh, thank you, Esme. Now, if I did this with color pencil on watercolor paper, I would not be at this stage. Kathy's asking, do you find useful the Colorless Blender? Oh my gosh, the PanPastel Colorless Blender is insane. And I don't have it as a part of this palette, so I won't be using it in this demonstration. But it does work really, really good. So what it does is it draws the color out further. I will show you. Let me just go grab it real quick, and then I'll show you what it does. I'm going to use this spare sheet of Uart paper to show you what the Colorless Blender does. So it almost looks like a very light grey sort of white, but it's just the PanPastel Colorless Blender. And so let's say, for instance, let's use the Permanent Red that we've been using. So I'll use this one, and we'll see how far we can really get. So those little bits are the sponge because it does wear. So we want to see how far we can get just with this red color, how far we can spread it. Okay. So it's not spreading much more than that. Now, you take your Colorless Blender, and it will pull it out even further. And it will make it even smoother. Do you see that? It's like you can, like PanPastel can't go far enough already. You can make it go even further just with the Colorless Blender. It just pulls it way out. So this is also really good for skin tones, because let's say you get a skin tone color and you love that color and you don't know how you mix that color up, or you don't want to change the color but you want to extend it just a little bit further, you can take your Colorless Blender and that same color and just move it further. So it's pretty insane. Just what this little thing can do is amazing. So the Colorless Blender, yes, I do use it, but for some reason I didn't include it in this palette. So, but that is how it works if you want to know. So let's say the green that I do in the background, I want to extend it further, I want to push it out more. Let's say I do it sort of close to the rose, but then I want to get to the very edges of my paper. But I've got like 3 different colors of green that I want to extend to the edges, but I don't want to mix those colors back up again. Then you use your pencil, your Colorless Blender, and you can push them to the edge of your paper. Does that make sense? It's amazing. Cool. Now, what was I doing? I was using the Permanent Red. Just to get some. Now this one needs to be a little bit more out this way. There. And change that petal up so that it's more there. Yes. So now I'm going to add some of the Permanent Red, because I changed this petal. I wanted to extend that a bit more. So just going to add some of the Permanent Red. Just to make it look like that's just that one. So much room for adjusting. You're like, oh no, I don't quite like that petal, I want to change it up. And we just did that. Just like that. Okay. So carry on with this one. If you use too much, just add some of your permanent red and blend it back in. Okay, so it's taking some of the permanent red and just blending that in. It looks like a painting, doesn't it? Doesn't it look like an oil painting? It's so weird, the sort of look that it provides or gives. It's like, it's cool. Cool. Now I'm gonna seal it in with fixative. And we've got 10 minutes to go. DJ is asking, is that the same form that is used for colored pencils? I'm not sure I understand your question, and I'm thinking that you're asking, is the layering process the same as what you use for colored pencils? And the layering process is the same. You have to keep adding layers, but you don't have to add fixative if you're just using colored pencils. The fixative is more for pastels. Oh, thank you, PanPastel. Okay, so I'm gonna spray that and take a 2-minute break real quick, and then I'll be right back. Oh, I'm just gonna cover my PanPastels. So make sure you cover them because you don't want to get fixative spray on them. Oh my gosh, look, it's like just made those colors super, super rich. Like velvet red. Okay. Right. So I'll be back in a minute. So I'm going to pause the stream. It's going to buffer. I just paused the stream. Actually, I won't pause the stream. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okay, cool. So we should be okay to carry on. I want to do a water droplet just to show you how I would do a water droplet. So I'm not entirely ready for a water droplet yet. I want to still do more on the petals, but I'll show you how I do a water droplet anyways, just so you guys can see it in this stream. And then we'll do the giveaway. And then the other 1 or 2 parts of this tutorial will be later, and you guys will be able to get it on the PanPastel YouTube channel. So, and just a note to PanPastel, so this will, I'm gonna do these like I'm streaming now, except it will be an unlisted stream so no one will see it. And then that way it's uploaded straight to YouTube, and then it's already done, so you won't have to wait for it. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit more. Yes, good point, Maureen. So if you go to PanPastel's website, so their details are in the description, they have a tab there, I think, with videos or something, and you guys can watch. There's a couple of other artists that have provided tutorials there that are really great. So if you want to see some more PanPastel demonstrations, then check it out. Oh, DJ was originally asking about the blender. So I don't use a blending pencil when I oh, well, okay, wait. Your question was, do I usually use the Colorless Blender? Is that what it was? And yeah, I've only recently gotten to try the Colorless Blender, so I haven't actually had the opportunity to really use it. But knowing how it works, yes, I will be using it a lot more from now on. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so with the water droplet, so that's the sort of thing that I would do with the colored pencil. So let's go find a nice big water droplet. So I'm going to take some of these. Let's zoom in for you. And let's put a water droplet just over there. I'm going to put one. So, water droplets are actually the easiest things to draw. I'm going to show you why. I'll use this one. This one? No. This one. Yep. And my indigo blue. So I'm going to use these 3 colors. So the first one is Medium Flesh number 131, and this is a Faber-Castell Polychromos pencil. And actually no. I'll do the shadow first. So indigo blue number 157, and I'm just going to do the bottom shadow of the droplet, just like that. And then I'm going to use the Medium Flesh 131. And then I need to sharpen this real quick. Then I'm going to use the Scarlet Red number 118. Sort of fill in the rest over there. Come back in with the indigo blue. Come back in with a medium flesh. Let's create another one over here. The scarlet red. This time I think I want to use using some of the Magenta 113 just to create that shadow. I don't want to go quite as dark as the blue. And then I'm going to take a white. Now it's not as extreme, but I'm going to just do it anyways. And do like a main highlight with the white. Just like that. And then just using my scarlet red, I want to smooth that edge of the shadow. And that's pretty much how you do a water droplet. Maybe if I do one just over here, like over the highlight, you'll see it more. I mean over the shadow. Take the white just with a... There we go. So as you start adding more and more of those droplets, they're just gonna start popping out. And they'll start looking realistic and pretty insane. So like I said, I haven't quite finished the petals yet, so I'm probably just gonna go over that with my PanPastel and redo them later. But that's the idea of how to do a water droplet. It's that simple. You look at your reference, you look at the, sorry, that's a bit very contrasty on here. I can't show you. You look at the reference, you see where there's a shadow, you see where there's a highlight, and you see where there's a mid-tone. Do a little circle and pop it in. And just like that, you get a bubble or water droplet, and it looks beautiful.